Welcome, Krystal.
Hey, good morning.
Hey, I just have to say that Krystal, guys, is coming all the way from Nashville. And if you have been following the news at all, you know that they have just been hit with a devastating tornado. And so I've been in touch with her all the last few days and just checking in. But how are you doing?
I'm doing great. And honestly, Nashville is just so full of love and everyone is so supportive that you will not see better neighbors than in Nashville. Everyone is just out there helping, already lending hands, clearing debris, and seeing how they can serve.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for coming on and joining me today. I am so thrilled to share your story. Your story inspires me like none other. So for people who don't know who you are, share just a little bit about what you do.
So I dress rock stars. I'm an A-list seamstress. And so I come in and I tailor pop stars and rock stars, and I basically give them their looks for the stage, for tour, or for red carpets. And so that's what I do. And so what I didn't realize was that I had a lot of superpowers, and so we could delve into that and delve into exactly what I decided to chase after during KBB.
Amazing. So I love how you just so casually say I dress rock stars, and I've seen her private client list that cannot be discussed. But this woman is just absolutely incredible. But what happened and what Krystal started to very quickly discover was that the only way to grow her business was to work more. So talk to me a little bit just about how different your life was even just a few months ago, because it's so different.
It's so different. Jenna, okay, so like right around the time when we started our mastermind,
Yes.
I was working an average of 90 to 100 hours a week. And no matter what, like the entertainment industry is always emergency mode.
Yes.
Always. It's always last minute. It's always, hey, could you run by in the next 20 minutes to this undisclosed location and pick it up and then run home and then tailor it overnight or make something completely from scratch overnight and then bring it back the next day. And I would do it because like I love my industry and I'd love my client, or I would love the idea of the costume. But what it meant was like, I'm the one suffering 24/7 and pulling the all-nighters and like working the long hours. And the only way to achieve certain goals and certain milestones that I set for myself was work longer hours, work more and more and more. And I was getting to the point where I was like, I'm not getting any closer to what I want to do because the impact that I want to make needs like 10 of me.
Yes.
And it doesn't play out. That doesn't math. And so before KBB and before the mastermind, like I was spinning my wheels, and call it good marketing or call it just like kismet, like perfect timing of events. But like I knew, and I was getting this idea for knowledge that I could pass on to other people.
Yeah.
And I could teach people how to costume like I costume. And whether that would be helping 3 people in Nashville who knew how to sew but didn't understand costume rigging or understand quick changes or understand like the intricacies of stage pieces, whether it was that or it was like on a global level, who knew? Like I didn't realize just how far I could reach. I'm just thinking Nashville, and I'm not realizing like how big abundance is, like how wide the net goes, and that there's people in every city kind of doing what you do. And so before KBB, I had all of these ideas, but I couldn't implement and I couldn't take action. And like the more that I researched about how to build a course, I was just going, I have years ahead of me. Like it felt like writing a fiction novel or something where you're like, I'm going to have to invest years in figuring out how to build this thing. And it's like, I took your course, I'd taken your courses, but I'd never taken courses from anyone else. Yeah. And so it's like, I trust you. Don't trust anyone else. Like I trust what I'm going to get from you. I trust the knowledge and how you're going to present it to me. But I don't understand how to reverse engineer it or like actually get everything out of my head that I know, and what is everything in the context of your idea, So
one thing that I love about you, and I see myself in you like so much. And I think so many women were so multi-passionate. So I think there's 2 camps. There's the camp of us saying, I don't have a superpower. I am nothing special. I am boring old me. And then there's the other camp where we're like, I have so many ideas. I could do this and this and this and this. And it's like, where do we start? So one of my favorite things, and I actually still remember when you shared and you were like, wait a second, I'm like one module in and my mind is blown because I
Yeah.
thought I was going to go this way and
Yeah.
I need to go this way. Tell me what happened.
um, it was somewhere in the process where we were mapping out all of the things that other people come to us about.
Yes. Right at the
And
beginning of the course.
right at the freaking beginning. And I had ironically posted a photo to Live Story with like, ask me anything.
Yeah.
And I had gotten like 10 questions asking me, how do you make money at sewing?
Yes.
And I was like, wait a second. Cause see, I'm thinking way up here where
Yeah.
I'm like, just a completely different space. And I'm like, I didn't realize that that was a superpower, because you can't have a craft before you have a superpower. Like, your skill of teaching is not finessed into a craft unless it starts with a superpower way back here, whether you're a connector or you're a cultivator or whatever it is. Right.
Yeah.
And so for me, I'm sitting there like reading all of these answers and these questions and I'm like trying to answer it. And I'm like, I can't answer it in a sentence. And I think that could be one factor, is like when you're going, I can't even share with you the knowledge that I have about this entire huge topic that you think is boiled down to one question.
Yes.
Whoa, that's my superpower,
Yes.
And I just had that moment where I was like, that's a wide net.
Yeah.
Now that's a lot of people that need help. And then I'm thinking of all of these different avenues within all of these different areas, like whether they're people who are just quilters at home, or they sell at craft fairs, or they're teachers and they teach sewing or in home ec in their community centers, or they're fashion labels, they're designers, they're aspiring designers. Like, there's all of these different directions that people need help in, because a lot of the education system around that is so broken, and they're not being taught those basic skills as far as being profitable from that one skill.
Well, and I think so much about what you do, and so many people that are passionate about sewing, and whatever that is, whatever you're passionate about spending your time on, a lot of times we forget to value our time. So we see the hard material costs. Like when I was a photographer, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm making $100 an hour, not realizing that I spent 5 hours preparing, an hour searching Pinterest, like
20 hours editing photos.
Yes. And we forget our time is valuable. And I think so many women don't do that. And so when I think about the people that you're reaching, and we'll talk about this, is you took this really high level idea and started to kind of like put it in a funnel and be like, wait. Let's start at the very beginning. And I remember teaching inside of our private community. And I said, we have to figure out where your passion meets progress, where you can actually get something out there to prove your concept. So talk to me about that, because you took this really high level idea, realized your superpower is actually so like easy for you. And then you started to serve the world in kind of a different way.
And that's the thing is, as we went through KBB the first time, I was so, when I realized that was the superpower, I went, okay, I have all of these ideas. My Trello board is terrifying for anyone to look at. You have the same.
I know what it looks like.
And so I need to go through KBB specifically thinking about this idea.
Yes.
Specifically implementing this idea. And KBB, it doesn't give you ideas. It pulls them out of you that are in there. And the mastermind with you helps us implement them, helps you take action. Because you could have so many ideas, but if you don't take action on them, you're just one of those person that's talking about ideas. Like, you're wasting time, you're wasting breath, And like, I think before the course, one of my biggest issues with like, I was so terrified to take it and to pay the money and do it and go faster. Like, I think go faster was one of those phrases that actually triggered me the most, because I was like, oh my gosh, life is so short. This is going to take so much time. I need like a leg up. Like, I need to go. I need to get going. I realized like one of my biggest reasons why I was terrified to move forward was it was a worth thing. It was because my worth in looking at those hours that you invest is like, oh, but I can work for free in this time frame, or, oh, but I spread the project out, or I was being unproductive or whatever. And so that time isn't worth as much, or those hours weren't as valuable as the other hours. Like, no, girl, you have worth, and your ideas have worth when you implement them. So when I started going through, woo,
Yes. That's so good.
when I started going through the course with this specific idea,
Yeah.
it just went deeper and deeper and deeper. And I had to go, okay, but what can you take action on? And I had to start applying this mentality like across the top line of the idea as I went, to go, okay, but what if it were easy? Because if you can't, I overcomplicate things. I am like so ambitious that I will give myself a nightmare of work, because like best case scenario, what are we going to do? You know, like you had to back it out and go, what if it were easy? Like, what if we approach this entire idea from the perspective that we're going to casually work on it a little every day. And we're casually going to get through it over the course of the month. And like, cause that's what you did. You took this massive course and you went, calendar.
Yes.
This is how we're going to do
30
it.
minutes today,
Yeah.
20 minutes tomorrow, 45 minutes the next. Oh, wait, you missed a day. Let's go back. Like, I mean, it's just, I know we're building out our calendar right now. And it's like, when I see that, I like take a deep breath again, because if you just log into something and you see, it's like, if you say you're going to read the Bible in a year and you start at Genesis 1 and you see how many pages you got to go, it's just, you already derail yourself because you don't want to disappoint yourself down the road. You know, we've done that so many times.
And we did this twice.
Yes.
Like that calendar, just specifically this mastermind. Isn't that wild that like we literally went through it twice together? And it's crazy because the second time that we went through it was my actual launch. Because like I ended up having these crazy like life things happen in the middle of it. And like I wanted to talk about that was, we started KBB, we started the mastermind in like late April, early May. At the end of May, I found out that I was going to have to move my home and my business out of my dream loft. And I thought that it couldn't get any better. Like I literally was losing the best place that had ever happened to me. And in the middle of KBB, in the middle of that, I had like all of it, like, and in the middle of my busiest work month of the year, I had to pack everything up and move it. And I had no security in like where I was going to live, where I was going to work. And then everything worked out for where I was going to live. And then all of the tools in our toolbox, when I had to shelf KBB for a second, like we did our implementation for a month, but then everybody was like crazy on board and helping each other throughout. I had to table everything. And yet I ended up in all of these different life situations where this toolbox was like, I couldn't put a price on it.
Like a lifeline.
I used the negotiation tools and I managed to negotiate my dream workspace. I used the success loop tool and I was able to re-strategize the direction of where my course went and like really, really solidify the modules. Like I ended up using that success tool to go, hold on, we don't need a module on this. We really need a module on this. And then like we used the 7 levels deep tool, like you talked about in the podcast. That was like my favorite tool because I was able to actually get to the heart of it, because when things got really, really hard and I was like working and I had a team of 9 people and I had no workspace and I was like driving to 9 houses a day, like it was insane. It was insane. Like being able to use all of those tools and go, all right, what is your why? Because at the end of the day, you're still going to come back and like, my current mastermind students, my current course students that I'm now teaching, they have no idea that I was literally like sitting there talking about this content and like going over it and finessing it and perfecting it a year ago at 3 o'clock in the morning on a freaking park bench because I had nowhere to work from, you know?
Well, and I love, so let's talk about, so Krystal had her first launch, and one thing I love about you today, January, a year ago, you figure things out. Like you take a line from Marie Forleo, everything is figure outable.
Got it.
With that. But you launched your first program, and I remember your first sale, but then what happened after the first sale?
I got 9 more like immediately.
So, okay, so let's talk about this. So not only are you teaching 10 students right now, you're teaching 10 students from around the world. And what did one of them mention to you that your content is not being taught in classrooms these days?
Yeah. So I have one. So the course that I ended up putting out was how to be profitable at sewing. And I reverse engineered everything that I learned along the way that helped me do repetitively do 6 figures in sewing a year. Because there are people with Etsy businesses. There are people that are like selling at craft fairs, but like I want to keep going.
Yeah.
And I reverse engineered everything that I learned, like all of the hard stuff, all of the good stuff, like every process that I figured out along the way, and every mistake, whether it was like estimates or contracts, like things that you would never think of unless you got the short end of the stick again and again and again. And like, I would go, all right, we're going to do that differently next time. And I just did that across the board with my whole business. And so I was like, what if other people didn't have to go through this?
Yes.
What if they didn't have to feel
Beauty.
this pain or like look at that credit card debt from that accident that I didn't understand, that one tiny sentence in a contract, you know, what that can do for you. And so I have one student who is in like across the world, like in a different country, and she's in fashion design school, and she goes, they're not teaching any of this. Like, they're not teaching this in school. And I'm like, this course costs less than a textbook in fashion school.
Yes.
And
Yes.
you're learning things that you wouldn't learn in school. And like specifically that type of education is a space to play. It's basically a padded room to drape mannequins. You know, you're getting to play and you're getting to experience, like experiment with your creativity, but you're not learning how to get out in the world and like transfer that, like translate that into a career and an income, you know? And so I'm trying to just give people those tools to be able to do that.
How does it feel? I just want to know. I mean, I can see it on your face, but like, how does it feel to know that you are leading 10 people and saving them time and energy and money and pain and heartbreak and all of these things? What does that feel like?
Oh my God. Um,
Okay.
I
Okay.
think, yeah, it's crazy because I remember being in moments of grief going, is this worth it?
Yeah.
You know, like when you take an L on something, you know, like when you take a loss on something, and then you do it again and you do it again, and the losses are different every time, you
Yeah.
know, and you're like, why, like what just happened there? Because you're doing things the hard way, you know, and you don't know that you're doing things the hard way. A lot of times when we start our businesses, we feel like hustle is like something that you have to do. And yes, there are seasons of grind, like there are seasons of like, you just got to beast through this and get through this. But then there are years of struggle, and it's because you weren't equipped. No one gave you the tools. Like no one either gave you the permission to go for it, or
Yeah.
nobody gave you the tools like that you needed, and like the concrete skills that you can only learn from someone who's done it. And unfortunately, like the system that we have in place for education does not reward people who've done it in the real world teaching you.
Yes. Yeah.
So you're stuck. So you're at a loss, and they tell you, and like the way to repackage that and put a bow on it is tell you, yeah, it's supposed to be hard, you know, and it's not like, yeah, it's going to be hard, but like how much less hard could I make it on you if I just gave you these tools, like, and that I just equipped you and gave you permission that you needed, and like helped you work through those mindset issues that like you're facing. Cause like we were talking about before, it's like whether you're at the starting, like on day one, or whether you're at paying $50,000 for a mastermind, you're still going, do I have permission? Like,
Yes. Yes.
whoa, you
That
know?
level of investment, we were talking and I'm like, when you invest and it hurts, and I said it looks different at every level of the game. I remember when $50 was painful, and now I know when $50,000 is painful to me. But when I invest and it just hurts, when it makes you pause, that is when you hit the ground running with like the fierceness required to get results, because you're like, I will be danged if I do not prove myself right. Like, and I know for you too, when you invested, like it wasn't an easy investment by any means.
Wow.
And then you
I was
lose your house. Like,
something QuickBooks. I
yes,
was like, girl, are you crazy?
yeah. But so you sold 10 of your course. You just made back your entire investment in the program. And this was launch 1. So what is launch 10 and 20? And what's it going to look like 10 years from now when you have multiple programs? Like whatever direction you go in, I think so often we forget that knowledge compounds. Like remember when you're a kid and your mom's like, if you invest 7 years from now, it'll double. It's like when you think about, if you invest your energy, your time, you get those resources. This isn't just a one and done. Krystal is just starting. Like
Oh
you
yeah.
are just starting with
I
what you're able to do.
haven't even like dropped a penny on advertising or anything. Like I'm literally going in and like I'm still even adding more value for my students.
Yeah.
You know, like I have a list of modules that I'm about to go record and add to the course just to add value and make sure that they're getting everything that they need before I relaunch. And like, as I'm gearing up for this relaunch, it's crazy because I made back my investment. And you remember, I was the biggest critic.
Yes.
Like I made back my investment and I'm already like creating all of this content to prep for my next launch. And it's insane because it's like, I've already planned my ad strategies. I've already planned like, you know, different types of marketing that I'm
foreign a year ago.
Yeah. Oh, all of it's foreign. But now it's like, it's kind of easy.
Yeah.
It's a lot, you know, but like we're eating it the same way that we took the course. It's a lot, but it's all easy steps because we're not alone. You know, like you're not facing this going, I have no idea what I'm doing. You've been given all the tools that you need to do, and you're given a cheerleading squad, you know?
Let's
like,
talk about our group, because I mean, you have been just someone, every time you post, I'm like, there she is. There's my group. But what has our group been like? Because people have joined Facebook groups until they're blue in the face, and people are like, not another Facebook group. But what is our group?
Every day that my mastermind of girls that I'm like of students that I'm leading through becomes like our group. Like I literally like that's all I want, because our group, we know what's going on in each other's lives. Like these people were strangers, you know, and I assumed when I first got in the group, I assumed that my motivator was I wanted access to you. Like I was the opposite of Erica. I was like, that's my girl. Because I was listening to like episode 1 of Gold Digger in the very beginning, because it was like around when you'd launched the podcast. I had just adopted a wild Mustang and I was driving an hour each way. Remember this? I was driving an hour each way and I started listening to Gold Digger as I would go to train the horse. And so I was listening 2 hours a day to you, and then I'd come home and then I would work on stuff. And so I was invested, and I was like, this is helping me go faster. This is helping me take progress. So when the week that the initial webinar for KBV came out, I actually had seen Dean and Tony and Gary Vaynerchuk speak in person in Nashville, and their webinar was the next night. And like, I was like, whoa. Like as soon as I'd seen them speak in person, I felt it. I understood how Dean communicated, and I understood, you could see his heart from stage, you know, like he wears it right out here, like just so much heart. And so when I was waiting for the webinar, I felt like by the time that we watched the webinar, I was like, I know that they have more to offer. This is like a crumb or like a speck in this whole thing of what they have to offer after I've seen him speak in person. But I'm still scared to go forward. And then you were like, all right, go time. If you're in, I'm basically going to mentor you. And I was like, okay, all right, I'm in, because I wanted access to you. What I didn't realize, because that's what I wanted, right? We talk about like asking for what we want and then getting what we need instead. I wanted access because I was like, if I can duplicate any of the success that she has by watching what she does and watching how she teaches, even just teaching about this course, then I can apply that to teaching mine. And like, I'm just going to be a spectator. That's what I expect. Isn't that hilarious? I'll just sit back and watch. So, which is hilarious because Jenna knows that I'm literally in this group every day. Like, send me your website. I'll give you a call. Like, let's critique this.
Let's get on the phone.
Let's get on the phone. And you know what's so funny is this is an entire group of those people. Like, I got a phone call out of the blue from an unknown number like 2 weeks ago, and I was basically at a breaking point with a contract negotiation. And it was Taylor in our group, and she was like, hey, I don't want you to be weirded out. I found your number online. I'm calling you because you need to hear X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, oh my God, I love you, you know? And she's like, we're going to fix your website. We're going to do this. And we just sat on the phone for 2 hours, and and like, that's our group. That's one of like 50 phone calls and messages and like Instagram messages. Like yesterday morning when I woke up to devastation in my town right now, I had like 40 messages and like 90 text messages. And like a third of those were from our mastermind. Like our group, it's people of like, everyone is invested and everybody cares about each other. Like, we're all worried about each other. We're all concerned about how we're doing, and we're all cheering each other on to go faster. And it's funny how like I wanted access to you, because if I could duplicate what you've done, like even at 1%, I'd be happy with life. And yet what I got was like 1,000 people in a group, and all of us had all of these different skills. So it's not just 1,000 people with all the same skill. It's 1,000 people with all these different ideas and skills inside of them. And it's like all of that comes together, and collectively it just becomes this force.
Yes.
It does not matter what you need. I don't know if you remember, but like there was one Sunday that I had back before I had to move, and I was sitting there, and I am not a Photoshopper.
Yeah.
I am not a logo person. Like I can't do any of it. And I was like on a budget because I just bought the course.
Yeah.
And I was like, I got to figure this out, how to do this. And this course, we crowdsourced my entire logo in an hour.
Yep.
So I had written out the name of the course, and Kim popped on and she was like, the kerning's off. You need to do this. Somebody else said, hey, my eye automatically goes to the right, like right to left and not left to right. And like somebody else hopped on and they were like, you need to space this out. And in an hour we had my logo done, and it was just done. And I was like, well, that's cool. Like something that was like such a huge thing that like, what if it were easy?
Yes.
You know, like
it all could be easy. I know. And I love too, in our group, it's like, there are so many superpowers. Like there are like sleep trainers for babies and someone that helps you eat better. And I mean, it's like, I want to just take everyone in our group's courses so that I can get all of their knowledge. And I'm like, this is the proof of the concept that they're teaching. Like we want to go better, go faster, go easier together. Like we don't want to be alone.
No, not at all. Like humans are not meant to be that way. You're not supposed to be isolated, especially not when you're trying to build something and you're trying to like do something different and new. Like you need people cheering you on. And you know what's funny is even the people who have the same skill, or like they have a different skill, but they're teaching the same thing. Like there's somebody else in the group and we're teaching totally different things, but we both have modules on branding and on marketing. Yeah. And it's like we share what we're teaching and we approach it completely different.
Yes.
And so it's like we have so much to learn from each other that can birth our next 6-figure idea or $1 million idea or whatever it is. And it's like we're crowdsourcing all of our knowledge. And it's like, oh man, I completely spaced. Why didn't I include that in my course? Let me go add it. And they're like, yeah, don't forget to add this, this, and this. And it's like knowledge is meant to be shared. Like you said, it compounds, and it's just wild how deep that impact goes, because not only are my students like getting what I know, they're also getting like top tier knowledge from all of these other people too, because we all share and we're all cheering each other on, and we're all sharing like random thoughts and takeaways that we have like throughout the day. Like, look at what happened to me, and this is what I learned from it. And other people are like, I'm going to go teach.
Yes. And I love to, I always think about, because when Dean and Tony talk about masterminds, I feel like that word is such a catchword these days. Like you hear about it and people, it almost feels like this secret, like secretive community, but the actual meaning of mastermind, or at least how I translate it, is getting the right people in the room, in the group, in the course, whatever. And it's everyone's knowledge compounding. It's not about just the leader. Like I want to choose leaders that get the right people in the room. And that's what I think my superpower is attracting the right people to be in the room. So yes, I am going to lead you. And I mean, do I lead? Like, I don't hold back.
But you're a baby or not.
Oh my gosh. But I'm also going to get the right people in the room so that it's not just about learning from Jenna. It's like, I trust that Jenna will get the right community together. And I feel like that's my superpower, is getting the right bodies in the room.
Oh my God. Yeah. It's insane. It's insane, the group of people and all of the crazy skills that everybody has, because it's not novelty. Like you're not looking at this whole group of people and it's like 1,000 people with weird skills that you're like, that's so weird and cool. Like that's kitschy and odd. Awesome. No, it's like people know things that you will never learn in your lifetime unless you ask them. Yes. Like weird things, things that are just like, they add so much value for you that you couldn't possibly know what to Google if you wanted to search it. Yeah. Like you don't know what to Google. You won't.
Right. Krystal, where can everybody connect with you and like look into all that you do? Because I am just so blown away by you and I want the world to see just what you're putting out into it.
On Instagram is where I'm trying to hang out the most these days. So that's Krystal Douglas, just Krystal Douglas. And then my course is sixfiguresewing.com.
I am so proud of you. Thank you for being a part of this journey. And I just have to say, watching you do the work has been one of my greatest joys, because Dean talks about the difference between resources and resourcefulness. And you are literally one of the most resourceful women I've ever met. And it just reminds me of what we can do when we set our minds to something. Like, you are incredible to watch.
Oh, I love you.
I love you too. What would you tell everyone if they're watching still and they're on the fence? What's your final word of wisdom?
Get off the freaking fence. Honestly, like the money was the biggest holdback for me. And I didn't realize that my issue was actually a self-worth issue. It wasn't a worth issue, a worth of the course issue. It was that I didn't realize that the hours that I was spending giving away for free at my craft, because I wasn't like, that was all self-worth. And it was the same thing as far as the decision for the course. And so the moment that I invested and I was like, all right, I'm getting off the fence and I'm going to do it. And what I'm going to do, I don't know if you remember, but remember when we sat and I was like, what if I built the course and launched it in a month?
Yes.
And I was thinking my contingency plan was, if all of this failed and none of it works, then I could get my money back,
Yes.
And like what it did was it kicked me to like take action. And yet like on week 2, I was like, my mind is blown and this has been worth every penny, because it's not like KBB gives you ideas. It literally just pulls them out of you. And then, and it's crazy if you don't think that you have ideas, they're just in there. They've just been pushed back, whether it's self-worth issues or mindset issues, for so long that you don't realize what's inside of you. And it's like KBB helps you pull those ideas out, but our mastermind, that's where you take action. Like the mastermind is the actual gas to get you to go faster.
Yeah. Dude, I cannot wait to put gas on your fire and see how crazy your business booms. I'm so excited. And just when I see the knowledge that you're bringing to people, I'm like, this is why we do this, because you're coming alive and you're bringing people to come alive with you, which is pretty much the best thing in the world.
Life is so different. Oh my God. Like I have not worked 60 hours yet this year. Like it's insane. And you know, what's crazy is even like with environmental factors and all these things going on, like we didn't have any work come in for a month because of coronavirus. And yet my course was a constant. Like my impact on the world was a constant. My ability to show up and serve people is a constant. Like nothing is affected by that. And it's just, you can only go so far as a service-based business until you reach either a breaking point or like a tipping point where you can't, if you have like that impact level in you and you're on the fence, understand that like KBB puts gas on the fire. Like it's what allows you to reach the next level and move on beyond just trading your time for money.
I want to go take your course now because I'm like, girl is on fire, actually. Well, we are all sending our love to Nashville, and I'm just so thankful that you are okay. And I know how you are going out today to just serve the world with the big heart that you just shared with us. So just know you're in our prayers, and we are so grateful for you.
Thanks, Jenna.